Hello, Grumpy Old Fart here. I had a friend of mine tell me the other day, I do videos on capitalism, and I did one capitalism versus crony capitalism, and I did one on democracy, the Democrats, I should say, because they're not good. But I had a friend who has been listening to friends of his, and he said that capitalism was responsible for the 2008 financial crash. For those of you who don't know, banks got greedy and overstepped the market, for lack of a better word, and created a huge financial bubble in the housing market. And when it burst, oh my God, it burst big. It burst enough to bring down the global economy. The 2008 financial crash was bad. It's about as bad as it gets financially. Trillions and trillions of dollars just gone from people's 401ks and every other damn thing. It was bad. It was really bad. But he says that capitalism was responsible for that. And I'm going to respond to him in this video because capitalism was not responsible for that. Let me explain. Capitalism, first off, capitalism obeys the law. It fits in the legal structure of the financial world. Okay? What the banks were doing was illegal. That's not capitalism. The reason conservatives don't like very many laws, we want to get rid of as many laws as we can, get them off the books, is because anytime you make a law, it's a detriment to freedom. And any type of a financial law, business law, impedes business. And when you impede business, you impede capitalism. Now, let's not mince words. We have to have some laws. We have to have fair trade. We have to have safety regulations, reasonable safety regulations. We have to have clean air and clean water. So the environmental regulations, we're okay with that. But other than that, what's the point? All you're doing is impeding business, which is impeding capitalism, which is impeding the American way. Now, the 2008 financial crash, basically what it boiled down to was they took a good idea, which was a mortgage bond and mortgage-backed securities, and they started manipulating that, putting crappier and crappier mortgages in there, and in order to sell these to into the bonds, I should say, and in order to sell these as markets, as investment markets, they paid ratings companies, and Standard and Poor's and Moody's and like that. Those are ratings companies. They're the ones that rate investment bonds, among other things. And so you got all these substandard B-rated bonds in a big portfolio, and the banks would pay these rating agencies to instead give them a AAA or a AA rating. So people, oh hey, it's rated AA, we'll pay for that, That's a crime. That's called fraud. Okay, that's not capitalism. That's a criminal endeavor right there. Okay, because the banks were doing that a lot, along with another concept called the synthetic CDO. I think that, I don't know if it's illegal or not, but damn, it should be. It's bad. It's real bad. But that I know fraud is a crime, and what Standard and Poor's was doing was a crime. I believe it was Standard and Poor's. If it wasn't them, I know it was some other rating agencies. But my point is, they were selling their double and triple A ratings to the banks for cash. And that's a crime. That's called fraud. Okay? So, the 2008 financial crisis was based off of fraud, not capitalism. Big difference there. Saying that the 2008 financial crisis was about capitalism is like calling a mugger an entrepreneur or a businessman. They are neither. A mugger is a criminal. Period. They're stealing your money. usually at gunpoint or knife point or whatever. Capitalism is voluntary. Capitalism deals with voluntary exchanges. We have to, and the other thing about this is competition. Competition breeds excellence. If you got two people selling widgets, they both have to convince you that one, their widgets are better than the other guys by making better widgets, and two, they have to sell their widgets cheaper or at least justify the increased cost. They have to convince the consumer, you, to purchase their widget, as opposed to going to the other guy to get his widget, whatever a widget is. I use widgets as an example. But capitalism is voluntary exchanges, and it deals with enticement rather than force. The Obamacare Affordable Care Act nonsense. The law said you had to buy health insurance. If you can't afford health insurance, you have to buy it from us, which you can't afford, but we're going to fine you if you can't afford it. That's what Obamacare said. That's beyond, that's not even capitalism, that's just stupid. You can't afford a product, so now we're going to make a law that forces you to buy the product, and if you can't afford it, we're going to penalize you financially. We're going to fine you. You see how stupid that is? Obamacare was not about healthcare. Everybody says, oh, it's a great healthcare. So it's about trying to get everybody affordable healthcare. No, it's about breaking the American economy, just like everything else the Democrats do. Case in point, the man who helped write Obamacare was George Soros. George Soros has come out and said he intends to break the American economy. That's how he's a currency speculator. That's how he makes his money. He did the same thing in Asia. He did the same thing to the Bank of England. He made billions of dollars doing that. And, you know, that's his thing. So, when people say capitalism was responsible for that, no, capitalism is a great thing. Capitalism is the single most prolific bridge to prosperity in the history of the world. Period. Nobody with a shred of intellectual honesty can dispute that. Nobody. Okay? And you get all these college kids who, oh, well, capitalism is bad because they're greedy capitalists. How do you think the world's economy runs? You think the communist commissar isn't greedy? Of course he is. Do you think do you think the tribesman in New Guinea, the chief, do you think the stuff he gets is a little better than the others? Of course. Why? Because he's greedy. Everybody is greedy. Capitalism says you can be greedy, but so can everybody else. The idea is a certain amount of greed is a good thing because it builds businesses, it builds economies, helps, because businesses hire people. When you hire people, you're creating jobs. That's the world. That's how an economy runs. Okay. Socialism says the government runs everything, and it doesn't matter how greedy you are, you get exactly the same as everybody else. And it's usually not very much. Why? Because the government's doling it out. Government doesn't do anything for anyone except for kill people. That's the only two things that government does well. Kill people and take your money. Dishing out money, no, not so good. When's the last time you got a refund from the government, not besides a tax refund, like income tax, that the government owed you money, and they voluntarily give it back. Usually, if the government owes you money, you have to go to court to get it back, and it's years before you even see a penny. Government doesn't give money; they take money. And if socialism is a governmental system, that means the government controls the money. Try getting a dime out of that. Case in point, Cuba has socialism. There's a man named Louis Glass, and I talked about him in one of my videos earlier. He drove across the open ocean in a car to escape socialism because it's illegal to make a profit in Cuba. I'm not going to go into the story, but you can go back and look it up. Okay, he's on YouTube, and he's a hell of a good man. He's a legal immigrant to America. At any rate, after the crash of 2008, U.S. capitalism, you're going to love this, propped up the entire world's economy. And if you don't believe me, and this wasn't Cuba or Venezuela or your European socialism. This was American capitalism that propped up the world's economy. There was a congressman named Ron Paul. He was questioning somebody with the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve gave out, I want to say, $9 trillion to various banks around the world to prop up their businesses, to prop up those banks. And they didn't keep track of where they sent the money, so we can't get that money back from them. We can't say, hey, you owe us X amount, let's work up a payment plan, anything like that, because they don't know where it went. And folks, there's a reason. As I understand it, the people who sit on the Federal Reserve who decided to give that money out own those banks. So essentially they loaned themselves our money that you and I have to pay back. Go check out my video on the 10th Amendment, and I did some other stuff on the Federal Reserve. Check that out. You'll see what I'm talking about. But $9 trillion of our dollars to foreign banks, to the owners of the people who run the Federal Reserve. They didn't keep track of it, so we don't know where to go get our money back, and you and I are stuck paying the bill for that. Capitalism was forced to prop up the entire world's economy. Capitalism did that. Okay, otherwise the world would be in much worse shape. And I'm going to tell you something. Socialism didn't do that. Capitalism did it. Alright? So when you hear people say, well, capitalism is evil. No, capitalism is wonderful. Capitalism is powerful. Capitalism empowers people. Okay? Capitalism creates millionaires and billionaires. Alright? Socialism doesn't do that. The only way you become a millionaire or a billionaire under socialism is you're either running the country, or you're a criminal, or both. So that's the plain hard truth right there. Alright? I'm not going to rant anymore on this, but my friend is wrong. Capitalism did not cause the 2008 financial collapse. That was crime. And frankly, he should know better. Folks, have a good day. God bless one and all.